Hey there, we're Talia and Ophira Edut, identical twins and astrologers. Welcome to AstroTwins Radio, where we bring the stars down to Earth. Calling all transcendent leaders. Yes, we're talking to you, even if you didn't know you were one yet. This week, the transcendent leader in you is set to emerge because Monday, July 22nd, it is a jungle out there as Leo season begins. And our eminence, our pride, our regal sides emerge. We all have a place in the world where we're meant to lead, we're meant to guide, we're meant to take charge. And Leo season, which this year lasts from July 22nd to August 22nd, is the time when there's just no hiding that light. So welcome to the weekly forecast. This is Tali in Seattle.
And Ophi in New York. We're together again.
Let's talk about the leaders, the world leaders for a minute. Why don't we?
Yeah, I was having a giggle over my morning coffee because, of course, Tali's been doing this Instagram election series, and we just keep getting asked, oh my God, is so-and-so going to win? Is Biden going to drop out? And I just thought, like, the utter irony, but joy I'm having as an astrologer, getting to remind people that we all have free will. And the best way to exercise that free will is to make sure you vote in every election. It's uncertain because you have the ability to help shape things. With astrology, there's always, the planets may move things in a certain direction, but we can always help shift and turn the tides by taking conscious action. And that's always been our approach to astrology. It's fun and also sometimes a unique challenge to explain how smart, thinking, conscious, science-oriented people also use astrology effectively.
And I will say this, that Leo season is not going to be the determining factor for, even astrologically. I found out that J.D. Vance's birth time is actually 8:11, not 11 a.m. Our friend Tasha sent us his birth time right before I was about to record, and I glanced at it. And I was like, oh my God, it's 11. And then I looked later, it was 8:11 a.m. So slight shift in that. If you watch the video, he's not a Libra rising, he's a Leo rising, which means both him and Trump have Leo rising. We are going to be seeing a lot of people swayed to them over the next month because they're going to have that Leo energy on their side. The next month is a time to come out and show out and pump up the optics, the theatrics. There will be a big sway in that direction, but it's not bound to last for too long because one of the big things happening during this Leo season is that Mercury is turning retrograde. Mercury is going to be retrograde in Virgo from August 5th to 14th, and then it goes retrograde in Leo from August 14th to 28th. So whatever you're pumping up, whether you're on the campaign trail or just campaigning to get your friends to join you on a trip to Burning Man or something like that, whatever it is, make sure that you're leading with more than just smoke and mirrors, and that you're being authentic, because when Mercury flips back in Leo, especially August 14th for 2 weeks, it could undo, it's going to lift a lot of veils. I don't know. What do you think, Ophi, about that?
I agree. I think that we're going to see a lot of people showing out and putting themselves out there and making really big, bold assertions and promises during the first part of Leo season, especially this week. It's great because when Mercury goes retrograde, they will have to back it up. They may have to walk back some of it. I mean, nobody ever expects a politician on the campaign trail to really do everything they say they will, but we are listening for what their priorities and key issues are. So August is going to be a big listening tour, but really pay attention to what people start with now this week and what they end with in August and September. So
yeah, those integrity checks are going to come already starting on the 25th, this Thursday, because Mercury is already moving into Virgo. So we have it in Leo for the first part of the week, of the work week. So if you're, wanting to finish a creative task or some branding or design anything or make any style upgrades,
or
get
have a
on that.
party. Yeah, like have that date night you haven't gotten to because it's been such a busy summer. Now we're just coming out of the second Capricorn full moon. We had one on June 21st and one on July 21st. We've named this the summer of success as a result of that. We have our Lionsgate workshop, abundance workshop, coming up on August 8th, and we really hope you'll be joining us for that. We've got the link to get your ticket. Got a few more of those left in the show notes, but really very decisive first quarter of summer, I guess you could call it, the first month of summer from June 21st to July 21st. Yeah, so really getting clear on our goals and ambitions. I think, a lot of people, although I've been having plenty of fun, I've been working really hard, and I've been hearing the same from other people. It's been a work hard, play hard time between the two Capricorn full moons in Cancer season, and a contrast to Cancer season too, because Cancer is so emotional and personal, but these Capricorn full moons are very put yourself out there, ambitious. So now that we're moving into Leo season, there's more time for playfulness and getting out there, really more getting. Leo is ruled by the sun. So it's stepping out into what you want to illuminate, stepping into your leadership, like we're saying. So to finish the point earlier about how we like to work with astrology as thinking people, because election season, especially 2024, with so much going on and so much at stake, a lot of fear and anxiety is being churned up individually, collectively, in our families. So naturally, people will be turning to astrologers and psychics, asking the question, what's going to happen? And I just want to really invite you to not ask that question from a passive place if you do, and to say, I can impact that. How can I impact what's going to happen is a much more empowering, transcendent leader question that we really invite and encourage you to ask, because by asking that, you really do exercise the free will that all human beings have. We are, if there's any branch of astrology that I would say I follow, it's one called evolutionary astrology. Our friend Stephen Forrest is one of the main voices of it. And it's that your chart is really the key, the skeleton key to unlock your free will and your cosmic assignment. We are here on this earth with the opportunity to elevate the consciousness of humanity and all the souls who have chosen to incarnate. So that is a true invitation during Leo season. Lions are the most communal animals, making like lions now. Like, we don't want to be viciously against another pack of lions. We'll be seeing plenty of that in politics. But during Leo season, it's like how can you feed and sustain and nurture and work together like lions do and sleep 20 hours a day like the male lion does? Fun fact.
No,
Maybe
we
you
don't
need a summer
want
nap.
those. Yeah.
We don't need too much of those.
Once again, the females of the species are rising strong. Here we go. I was looking at Kamala Harris's chart, and she has Mars in Leo. So Mars will actually be in Leo. It's moving in there on election day, on November 5th, and it's going to be there for an extra long time.
I'm
Goes
glad you mentioned
retrograde.
Mars, actually, because let's talk about, yes,
Mars
is,
Mars moving into Gemini now,
that
along with
just
Jupiter.
happened. Yeah. So on July 20th, so we're fresh into the beginning of Mars in Gemini. So Mars and Jupiter are now both in Gemini, and it's in Gemini, Mars, until Beyonce's birthday, September 4th. Mars makes things hyper activated. It was in Taurus for until July 20th. So now it's in Gemini, which is communication, partnerships. That's, that can influence everything from political running mates to the messaging. I think there's going to be some mudslinging, and we're going to have to stay out of the gutter with that too. Like, I think the Twitter/X troll era, as much as I'd like to pronounce it dead, it's anything but.
Oh,
But
they're
I
going to be
remember,
popping
during the
out now.
2016 election era, like I think a lot of us got a charge out of going on Twitter, as it was called at the time.
Remember Twitter.
Back in the olden days.
R.I.P.
Yeah, well, we would go on there and it was empowering to finally get to say the things. And 8 years later, so the opposite. I mean, it's a charge, but it's a charge that ends up feeling ick. It's like binging on sugar and like getting a little energy and then crashing. So during Mars and Gemini for the rest of summer, especially with Mercury retrograde, you want to be careful. And this week and for the, and onward of what you post and say. I was just reading Jack Black canceled his tour with his bandmate, who is a Gemini. Jack Black is a Virgo, because his bandmate made a comment about the bullet taking, that grazed Trump should have, I don't even need to say it. You can imagine, which we don't stand for anyone here, but Jack Black actually canceled the rest of their tour and made a statement about having to rethink their values and priorities. And his bandmate apologized for saying that, made a statement. So you don't want to end up in some version of that by just making a glib, off the cuff comment in snark and sarcasm and assuming that everybody knows you don't mean it. In these times, watch what you post and say aloud,
Or even if you
record, and
do
that kind of
mean
thing.
it, being on the team of the high vibe doesn't allow you to say the same things that low vibe people get to say. It's unfair, but I think it's part of the transcendent leader profile.
Yeah.
If you want to be a transcendent leader, then it's the Michelle Obama, when they go low, we go high. It's like when we do go low, it steals energy. Whereas if you're in the low vibe place, it seems to build energy, but that's a mirage, actually. It really is. This is my personal soapbox on spell casting and why I don't do it. Now, I don't think all spell casting is bad, because there are some spells that are helpful. But if you're casting a spell that's meant to harm or uses somebody else's energy without their permission, it's basically like setting up a boomerang for yourself. It's going to come back to you. It's manipulating the forces of the universe in a way that's not appropriate, I guess. I'm not a fan of that word, but not in anyone's highest good. So that it always comes with a heavy price. People are wondering about what's going on with Biden, and he's got some intense things happening right now in his chart. He actually has Uranus opposite his sun. The sun being his power and his strength is at 27 degrees, and his Venus at 28 degrees Scorpio. Uranus is at 26 degrees Taurus. So it's like, okay, he's healthy, he's good, he's here and he's out. It's like this, like, hanging on. I mean, this may be
coming back to that. He's a Scorpio. Like, I know the power of Scorpio regeneration and quiet power that kind of just sneaks up on you. So I have no idea, but I still think it's short. You can see his tenacity. Scorpios know that they're powerful, even when the world underestimates them, or people with Scorpio placements do too.
He has Saturn in Gemini. Trump has Jupiter in Gemini. So Jupiter is going right over Biden's Saturn right now too. It's been right over it over the last couple of weeks. It's got a 9-degree Gemini Saturn. Jupiter's now at 12 degrees of Gemini. So he's like, it's like really highlighting where his weaknesses are. So I guess this might be an unpopular
Gemini
opinion,
too, being
but
communication is interesting too, since it's all about his mental faculties and speaking. that
Yeah,
cause a
exactly.
problem.
Yeah, the unpopular opinion alert that I have is that um I kind of like the tenacity there. He's got a Taurus moon, like whether or not he makes it to November 5th, that's what you want in a leader, right? Someone who's just not going to be pushed around and not going to just back down because everybody says XYZ. But at the same time, I do think Mercury retrograde is going to bring some shift.
It's more like it's interesting to see how he's navigating this. And also from the point of view of like Saturn being in Pisces, which rules aging, elderhood, and so, Pisces being the last sign, Saturn
True.
being the elders, like he is from the boomer generation, like seeing how the transition, how boomers will or won't pass a torch, how they handle wanting to continue contributing into their 70s and 80s. I suppose it's true about both candidates, regardless of my political opinion. It's interesting to watch. Trump has teamed up with a younger guy, a millennial, and have basically two boomers, because supposedly Gen X started with 1966 and Kamala's 64. She's also a dragon, having a dragon year, which can be a little bit challenging according to Chinese astrology when your animal comes back around every 12 years.
And
But
Pluto is straight up squaring her sun and has been for a while too, making it really hard for her to
emerge as a
emerge
leader.
and express herself. So there's definitely challenges there. However, do we fall for the front of the house optics, or do we look at what people are actually doing in terms of their experience and policy? Hopefully we look at both. I mean, we have
Yeah.
Saturn in Pisces and Jupiter in Gemini right now, so both matter.
And they're going to be squaring each other August 19th. That is a huge day. The Aquarius full moon. Working on the August monthly horoscopes right now, there are not one but two T-squares. The full moon is going to be in a T-square with Uranus and Taurus. It's the Aquarius full moon, which is politics. And with the Sun and Mercury retrograde in Leo. So there's one T-square that's a three-way tug of war between ego, what's good for the people, and progress versus keeping things as they are. Do we, how do we implement change? What is the change that the world needs? And then there's also Jupiter squaring Saturn. This is what's called the opening square from that great conjunction of December 2020. Like, open the gateways to the age of Aquarius. This is our first checkpoint. And they're going to be in a T-square with Venus and Virgo, which is about peace, but Virgo being very kind of analytical and fastidious. So it's a huge report card day. You should really be looking toward August 19th as one of the checkpoints. So whether you are sticking your head in the sand and ignoring the news, glued to your news feed, anything in between, whether you love or hate politics, like think of this as the Colosseum or the Greek theater where people used to learn things about life, this is the ultimate astrology movie theater. You want to learn astrology, watch what's happening this summer with the transits and how all the people who are throwing themselves in the ring as contenders to be leaders of the world are behaving, are acting, how they align with their astrological sign and the transits of the moment, because it is so informative.
By next week's podcast, we might even have some new people to talk about.
Probably will.
I mean, the sun is going to be opposite Pluto on Tuesday of this week. And that it could be a time where pressure for Biden to step down really mounts. I mean, he's being exactly how you would expect him to be when we plugged him into our I Am system in our new book, The Astrology Advantage. Plug there too. Make sure you pre-order your copy. It's the ultimate manual for basically personal branding yourself with astrology. We'll get back to that. But he has 8 authority placements, 8 of 13 of his placements. We plug them in, and you can either be innovator, which are cardinal signs, authority, fixed, and maven, which are mutable. So 8 staunch fixed placements in his chart, which is just that unyielding, unbudging, like, I'm going to finish this, never say die energy, which is the hallmark of a solid leader, but also one who would just not know when it's time to
tap out and pass the baton. Here's what I would predict is that he will want to make sure he hand picks a successor and has a part in announcing them and kind of puts his stamp on it with that Taurus moon too. And on a personal level for you, you know, how that Sun-Pluto opposition will be. So Pluto is the underworld, the things that are hidden in the shadows. The sun illuminates. Now, they're opposite each other. The spotlight is a little far away, but there is a beam of light shining into your personal underworld, basement, whatever you want to call it, your unconscious. And there's an opportunity to really step. When you have 2 planets or luminaries opposite each other, this is a moment of perspective. Think about like you standing all the way across the room from another person. Like when you're up close, you can't really see them fully. When you're standing across the room, you may not be able to see the detail, but that's actually a blessing in disguise. You can see the whole picture from a distance. So that's what the Sun-Pluto opposition, it's like you can suddenly see things that were kind of coming into focus in fragments. You may see something for what it is and what it isn't and have an aha moment of insight. Be careful not to like brand people too much as like, I see suddenly my father is a narcissist and that's why, and then
that's going to be
wash your hands of it because Pluto rules projections. We want to be careful. We also don't project onto each other. That's going to also be another thing. Like we all have narcissistic tendencies. We all have trauma. We all have that. So careful not to play amateur psychiatrist, but don't ignore things that have quality. Judge the behavior, not the person, is kind of the lesson.
And be extra careful of that once Mercury goes into Virgo, which can make us all very critical and judgmental. July the 25th to August 14th, starting Thursday. Now, one of the big deal transits we haven't talked about yet is happening on Friday. Chiron, the wounded healer asteroid. Now it's an asteroid. It's been a planetoid, a comet. It's always getting reclassified. Poor Chiron. No wonder it feels such identity crises. But yeah, Chiron is slipping into its annual retrograde. It's in Aries. It's there until 2027, started that journey in 2018. A lot of 1970s Gen Xers are having and late 60s are having Chiron returns. Oh boy, being called into leadership, called to sort out anger and self-worth issues. We're all going through that.
What a week. Jeez. Leo drama to the Sun-Pluto opposition to
Chiron retrograde in Aries. Well, Chiron retrograde in Aries is a chance to kind of pause and assess our tempers, the warmongers in us all.
Anger. How to use anger proactively and not. And also, with the retrograde, we have to be careful not to turn the anger inward. Retrograde reverses things. So careful with that too. One simple antidote, because it's Aries, very active, is to make sure you exercise and move around.
Yeah.
Move the energy.
And also maybe like Aries rules the head and the eyes, the adrenals. Get your adrenals checked. Are you stressing out too much? Are you keeping too much in your head? Chiron retrograde is a good time to get that support in there.
Especially for midlife women, because as I learned from our amazing naturopath, Dr. Gabriel Francis, the adrenals are one of the backup generators after menopause. So if you are flagging in your energy, midlife women, check on those adrenals during Chiron retrograde especially.
And also that is a transcendent leader signature as well, because Chiron is the wounded healer, meaning you take your core wounds and then once you heal them, you can use them to heal others or support others in their healing. Speaking of not burning out, Saturday's grounding quarter moon in Taurus, a waning one in the wake of last Sunday's Capricorn full moon, which was right next to Pluto and really intense, calls for a restorative weekend and a new outlook on how you're doing things, a balanced outlook. Again, Chiron retrograde is also asking the same thing. Are you being too effortful? Are you pushing too hard and driving yourself? That's not the way to emerge as a transcendent leader. Sure, there's hard work involved, but hard work doesn't have to mean just draining yourself. It's about putting new systems in. And we will be talking all about that as we've been teasing you, and many of you have already joined on 8/8, our special Lionsgate workshop that we're doing, which we're so excited about because we're going to be using numerology, astrology, and the system in our new book, The Astrology Advantage, the I Am system, to really encode new rules of success. We're going to be saying goodbye to old ways of doing things and inviting in and really showing you some new methodologies for moving forward into fall, into the rest of the year.
I mean, we are so overdue for that. Like I subscribe to a lot of newsletters like Fast Company and Inc. and that kind of thing. I keep laughing because every week there's like a new version of quiet quitting. Today's newsletter was something called coffee badging, where people like in hybrid scenarios where they're being called back into the office for a couple hours a week. It's like they come in and like grab their badge long enough to get a coffee, show up and get the heck out of there. It's like, it breaks my heart as a Capricorn rising how much people hate their work and their jobs and their lives because you spend so much of your life working.
Right?
And I know from seeing thousands of charts that everybody is here for a purpose. You do have a mission, you do have a gift. And it's almost like this bizarre human condition thing that I feel like astrology is almost like the skeleton key out of.
And by the way, you don't have to even quiet quit or quit at all sometimes you
no
do,
you don't,
but it's also a mind, like astrology and the I Am system is about shifting your mindset and also the way you set up your days, the way you set up your flow, the way you set up your communications, the way you interact with your team.
Yeah, so many subtle things, like how we're doing our waking and working life is sometimes so disconnected from how we're designed. And it does not have to be. We're just not aware of it. It's like you have an appliance or a TV that's been sitting in your house for years, but you never open the manual to it because it looked too confusing. And one day someone shows you how to use it and you're like, oh my God, I didn't know it could do that. And your entire life changes. That's how your astrology chart actually is. And that's why we created the Astrology Advantage and the I Am system so that you could have the easy key to unlock that and start doing things differently. Bringing flow instead of friction and resistance. Stop swimming upstream. It's actually possible for what I call contagious ease to flow your way. So our Lionsgate workshop is our advance gift to people who are pre-ordering their copy of the book. It comes with your ticket, along with the numerology report, a chance to win a trip to San Francisco and do a live reading with us. We're going to hang out on the rooftop of the astrology.com headquarters. We're co-sponsoring this giveaway. We also have 8 amazing people are going to win incredible gifts from Kate Somerville Skincare. Like you will have the galactic glow up to last you.
And Olivine Wolf Moon perfume as well.
Oh, yeah.
So the link is in the show notes, or you can go to tinyurl.com/success-fest and find all the information there.
So here we go into Leo season. And while you're at it, back up those devices and all your data before before Mercury goes retrograde. If you have a minute, just upload those photos and files to the cloud or some secondary storage space. Make sure your reservations for your summer vacays in August are confirmed. Check your passport, check your driver's license, make sure it's not expired. This has happened to people. And start those Mercury retrograde preventions now. And we will see you, hear you, talk to you next week.
As always, thanks for listening. You can discover more of your star power at astrocell.com and be sure to follow us on social at AstroTwins. Join us next time for more cosmic fun.